Hello, everyone. So we're going for live stream number 2 now. Thank you guys for joining us. And my guest today is Ealan Osborne, and he does some, audio video videos on YouTube, diving into different home theater systems. He's looked at some soundbars as well. So Ealan, just go ahead and introduce yourself real quick.
Hello, my name is Ealan Osborne, and I've been doing my YouTube channel more frequently and more professionally and more seriously since about September of last year. So it was it was my first product review that I did for the Klipsch theater pack, the 5.1 theater pack that they
Okay.
sell.
You got that from, was that a Costco package?
It was, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So ever since, because I'd attempted to do some other kind of audio related things previously, starting last spring,
Hmm.
but they just didn't have any traction whatsoever, and nobody really cared.
Yeah.
So once I uploaded the Klipsch product review, then yeah, game over. Then it just
Hmm.
took off, and people were actually searching for that kind of content. So
Yeah.
I'm like, all right,
That's
okay.
That's funny. Like that's kind of how it went for me as well. Like because when I first started the channel, I didn't know exactly what I was going to make videos on. Like
Mhm.
I had a website or I have a website still called thehometheaterdiy.com. So
Mhm.
like answering super simple questions. But then like I started that website and then I was starting the YouTube channel. I'm like, I don't know what to make videos on. So I just kind of bounced around to different topics. And then the first video that just like hit boom and like hit lots of traffic was the Sonos Arc video. Actually,
Right.
it wasn't even the Sonos Arc review. It was just the announcement video that the Sonos Arc was coming out.
Oh,
And
right.
I didn't have the product. I was just talking about it, like going over the specs, and it did really well. I'm like, okay, so soundbars are like a thing that people are searching for, and that kind of
Mhm.
just led me down the rabbit hole
Right.
of that.
I know, because honestly, it's in your space, since you don't really have a lot in the traditional home theater realm, at least yet, but
Hmm.
it really makes sense to kind of start with soundbars because they are more accessible, especially worldwide.
For sure,
It seems like
absolutely.
so many companies that have amazing speakers and are for traditional home theaters are all
Hmm.
made in America or in Europe, and they cost a lot of money. And if you live anywhere else in the world,
Hmm.
you're just SOL. So
Yeah.
it makes sense that you've really latched on to soundbars.
I've noticed that too, because looking at analytics and all, I can see like it's like a 45% user base in the United States, and then there's just I get questions all the time from people in other countries. They're like, we don't have this product or this product available, but we have this one at this price. I'm like, okay, well that's a different price, but it could
Mhm.
be worth it, could not be worth it. So it's
Right.
always trying to like balance that. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about your background. What kind of got you into the audio space?
I've always been, well, I grew up in a musical family. That's pretty
Hmm.
much where it started. But also, not only was it music that I was really into when I was a child, but it was just sound in general was like my world. Like
Hmm.
I was really good at making sound effects, and I was just really interested in the way things made sound.
Hmm.
So that's always been there. That's just been the foundation ever since I was little. And then that kind of turned into wanting to start to write my own music
Hmm.
when I was in my 20s. And I quickly found out that I really didn't know anything about recording
Hmm.
and just the art of recording and where to place a microphone and all that kind of stuff. Because
Hmm.
I attempted to write some music in GarageBand on my little MacBook back in the day. This is
Yeah.
like mid 2000s, 2006 maybe. And it just sounded so crappy. Like it didn't sound anything like you would hear on the radio. Like
Hmm.
also it was super, super quiet. So I'm like, what is going on? Why can't I get anything remotely quality sounding? So then I just decided to go to school for audio engineering.
Hmm.
So I didn't go to like a 4-year college. I went to a conservatory in Arizona. And just a real quick year-long program that really just gives you a foundation for the art of recording audio and music recording, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And so that made it so that programs like Apple Logic weren't so intimidating anymore.
Yeah.
Because GarageBand is made for, mass consumer market.
Mm-hmm.
But Logic is professional. So all the compressors and the delays and the reverb and stuff that finally made sense to me and wasn't that intimidating anymore. And I knew my way around that software where I could write my own stuff and make it sound great. But along with that, I've always been a film buff. I've always loved movies since I was a kid. I've always loved going to the movie theater. For a while, I wanted to be a filmmaker, a director, whatever.
I think that's funny. When I was younger, I wanted to be like a video editor for movies. I was like, yeah, I want to edit movies.
Yeah.
And I realized, like, no, I don't want to edit movies. That would not be fun.
Right. I know, because editing at that level, editing is really hard. You have to have just almost like a gift that you're born with to edit really well.
An inhuman amount of patience, I think, that most people just don't have at all.
Right.
But so if some of the people watching now, if you guys have any questions, we're just kind of chatting it up right now. But if you have any specific questions or anything, like, feel free to comment those, and we'll do our best to get to them and try and help you out. But you can go ahead and continue.
I don't even see any questions. Are they supposed to, or is it just on your end?
So we're using a software called StreamYard, so it's a little different. What I typically do, I didn't mention this earlier, I should have told you, but I have like one window up, I have StreamYard where I can control the live stream, and then and then like off to the side here, I have the YouTube comments. So I just kind of like bounce back and forth to see, what's going on and who has a question.
Okay.
But
that's fine. I was just curious if I was supposed to see it, I wasn't. So, all right, that's good. Let's see. So anyway, my love for film and filmmaking, and because I was always one of those kids, and even up until now, I'm always the one who likes to actually look at the behind the scenes stuff and even listen to the commentaries depending on what particular movie I want to watch.
Yeah.
I've always been pretty geeky, pretty nerdy when it comes to the actual filmmaking process. I've dabbled in screenwriting from time to time, just to see it, just to expand my creative outlets, whatever. My love for film and my passion for audio just kind of came together.
Yeah.
And I've always been interested in audio with films.
It just kind of all goes together, and then it slowly led into like home theater systems and
because I've always wanted a really nice home theater system.
Of course, most people do. Yeah, I've
just never been able to afford one.
That's typically the issue. It's like they're very expensive. It's not the easiest market to get into. I think that's why soundbars are blowing up so much. It's like a easier bar to entry. But I think we got a really good question here. I'm going to go back to some of the other stuff I saw as well. But Brian T, he asked, what do you think of the WiSA speaker systems? Any use eARC or enhanced audio return channel? Is Dolby Atmos coming to any? So I'm not aware of any Dolby Atmos ones as of right now. I know that they're capable of it, or the WiSA standard's capable of Dolby Atmos. I'm not super familiar with all the different ones that are out there. The one that I've specifically looked at was the Enclave Cine Home Pro. I know you looked at the Cine Home 2.
Yeah.
Is that right? Okay. So do you have any more information on this? What do you think?
Yeah, the only one that actually can process Atmos right now is the SoundSend. Because it used to be the Axim Link. And the Axim Link, it actually still is around. So the Axim Link was the predecessor to the SoundSend, which now can process Dolby Atmos. So it does hook up to eARC. And the only one that actually uses the SoundSend, at least for now, is, or at least that comes with the SoundSend, is the Platin Monaco and the Platin Milan. So those are 5.1 systems just right out of the box. But you can purchase 2 additional speakers to go with the Milan or the Monaco.
Okay.
So then you can have a 5.1.2 Atmos system.
Gotcha. And that's, I'd assume that's what a lot of these companies that were using Wyza were gonna do, but again, I haven't looked like super close into them. I did have like a good conversation with one of the head guys at Enclave, and we kind of talked about the system a little bit. I had some questions for him, so we got on like a short call. And I was asking like, why don't you have like Dolby True HD or anything like that in like support? And he's like, oh, we support PCM audio. I'm like, but a lot of systems don't output PCM audio. Like Blu-ray players will, but like most media streamers aren't going to put out the LPCM audio codec properly.
True. Yeah.
So I think that's where I was having some issues with that. But from what I understand, Wise is growing. I know that for sure. There's more and more people using that standard, which is nice.
Right. And I mean, it's in theory, the SoundSend, now that it can process Dolby Atmos, as long as you're using WISA certified speakers, I haven't been able to test this out personally, but in theory, you could use up to 7 WISA speakers with the SoundSend to have a 5.1.2.
Okay.
So
8, technically 8 speakers, but you'd have 7 speakers and then 1 subwoofer.
Correct.
All wireless. That's not bad though. That's I had a lot of people complain about the number of power outlets and things like that. But it's still, depending on the room, I think power outlets are still going to be more manageable than running speaker cable to everything. Unless you have like a room that's, in studs and there's no drywall or anything up yet.
Right. Yeah, because I mentioned it in my reviews of the Monaco and the Milan that, I mean, unless you have like shelves or built-ins around your TV, it's difficult. It's difficult, or at least it's just going to look kind of weird because you've got electrical, power cords going everywhere. So
yeah, I had to buy like 2 speaker stands and attach them to the speaker stands to do it correctly. But even then, like the power cables that came with it weren't super long, so you could like see them hanging down. It was like,
right, you got to get extension cords. Yeah.
But I want to answer this super chat real quick and then go back to some other questions that we got. But Jason Harper, I've seen you comment on a few of my videos. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. He says, love the channel. Is it worth an upgrade from HWQ950T to the HWQ950A? Excellent question. So I think I've gone over some of these differences, but the main differences between the Q950T and the Q950A. The T was manufactured in 2020. A is manufactured 2021. The 2 different features are Q Symphony, which is if you have one of the Samsung Neo QLED TVs, or there may be a couple other models that are compatible as well. Then there's a feature called Q Symphony where essentially the Soundbars speakers and the TV speakers are playing at the same exact time. And it's supposed to like enhance the audio and make it sound better. I did a consultation with a guy a few weeks ago, and he bought one of the Q Symphony enabled TVs and soundbars. He said it didn't make much of a difference, so he didn't see it as like a big perk or anything. And then the second thing is the SpaceFit Sound Plus, which is like the calibration software that goes along with it, where it uses microphones, I think, on both the TV and the subwoofer and soundbar to calibrate the room better than just using the subwoofer. So I wish I could
so that feature is not in the T version?
Correct. Yeah. That feature is not in the T. I don't think the T had any sort of like audio calibration now that I think about it.
Oh,
when I was looking, it may have had some like super simple thing that when I tried it is literally no difference at all.
Right.
But again, I think, you know, if you have a proper room for it where you can utilize, because the other difference is the rear speakers have a side firing speaker on them as well. So
Right.
they're 2.0.1 channel surround speakers for each side.
Wow.
So if you have like a square or rectangular room where those side firing speakers are actually going to hit the wall and bounce to your couch or sitting area properly, then I can see it being worth it. But I mean, the Q950Ts are just they're so cheap right now because they're going out. So if you can find it for like a really good deal, you know, $400 less than the Q950A, $300 less, I'd go with the T over the A.
So kind of piggybacking off of that, that's kind of the Sonos Arc big selling point is their room calibration software.
Yeah,
What's your experience with that?
TruePlay's pretty nice. TruePlay works pretty darn well. It's annoying if you're moving components around all the time. Like when I'm testing different configurations or moving speakers, like it's a pain for me because I have to run that process over and over and over again. But I think it makes a massive difference, especially depending on the space that you're in. Like in our living room, there's a night and day difference between TruePlay and not TruePlay. And I like Sonos because of the modular system where you can add in stuff, change out speakers. You're not stuck with a set system or anything like that.
Right.
I'm gonna go back to some of the previous things. That's my fiance right there. So thank you for supporting me, dear. I appreciate that.
Thanks, Ashley.
And then this is a buddy. This is one of my groomsmen that'll be in my wedding. Thanks for watching, Chandler. I appreciate it. And then Ashley asked a question. She said, how'd you hear / learn about each other? I think it was like I was researching something. I don't remember exactly what it was. And then I stumbled across your channel. It may have been something where you were discussing the difference between Blu-ray quality and streaming quality or something like that. And then I subscribed and I've just been checking out your channel every so often. I'm assuming probably similar thing. You were searching up something and eventually found my channel at one point.
Correct. Yeah, obviously I was looking up something about soundbars. So
yeah,
because you seem to be the soundbar guru these days.
With the number of soundbar reviews and soundbar videos I've done, I think if you type in the word soundbar into the search in YouTube, you're probably going to find one of my videos at this point.
Right.
I want to get this question. He said, Jonah, will you review the Sennheiser Ambio? And again, I've gotten this question many, many, many times. I think I've answered it quite a few as well. But I'd love to review it, but it's hard to justify spending $2,500 on a soundbar that I don't think they're gonna. I know it's a few years old at this point. I don't know if they're gonna continue manufacturing it, especially because Sennheiser was bought out by like a hearing aid company.
Oh.
So I don't even know if they're gonna continue making it. So if I dump that $2,500 into making that video and then a month after I make that video, the product's discontinued and like, oh, here's a brand new soundbar now. I'm like, okay, well, it's kind of difficult. I'll reach out to them and see if they'll send me a review unit. But with how old it is at this point, I don't really foresee that happening.
Yeah. Maybe they will because it's so old.
Maybe. I don't know.
So they're like, hey, we've got tons on the shelves.
They're trying to market it more, possibly. Do you have any experience with the Ambio?
No, I don't, unfortunately. I would also love to test it out just because it seems to be the end all be all for all sound bars.
Yeah.
So since everybody's trying to be the Ambio.
Like this tall, thing's massive.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even really consider it a sound bar at that point. It's just a speaker bar.
Right. A speaker box.
A woofer box, yeah. That's funny. All right, Joseph, I'm not sure how to pronounce your last name, but will you review the Nakamichi 9.2? I did review the Nakamichi, the 9.2.4.
Oh, you did?
The Shockwave Ultra is what it's called. I reviewed that. I think it was like right before Black Friday last year, right after Black Friday, sometime in like November or December. I looked at it. Solid system. like the Soundbars. Are you familiar with Nakamichi and their Shockwave lineup?
I just know of it because
Okay.
I've done a video on just like a bunch of different sound bars out there, and
Hmm.
that was one of them that I featured just because I wanted
It's
to review it, and
yeah.
it's massive.
Yeah, it's
So
it's a great bang for your buck. Like
mhm,
9.2.4 channels, two 10-inch down-firing subwoofers,
mhm,
four surround speakers. When you have all that going on, and if you have the proper room for it, it's a really great system. But you have to have, I think you have to have a dedicated media room for that. You can't put that in like a
yeah,
standard living room. It's yeah, I had it in like my office back when we were living at our apartment, and it was just like speaker stands all over the place, and it was
right,
too small to have a system like that in there long term.
right.
Um, Scott, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that. I love both your channels. I got the LG SP9YA. I love it. $699.99 now. That's not a bad price. That's the It's not the flagship model. I think that's a step down from the new flagship model that was just
Mhm.
released, I believe. Let me look real quick. Do you have any experience with the LG soundbars at all?
I've just had experience with one LG soundbar. Gosh, it's the one I don't remember the numbers at the moment, but it was a 5.1.2
Okay.
soundbar, and I thought it was okay
Hmm.
because I think that particular one is around the $300-$400 mark,
Um,
and
Gotcha.
and it was decent, but I don't know, the build quality was just okay. Even
Hmm.
like especially the rear speakers. Rear speakers were so extremely light and
Hmm.
plastic,
You could just
and
tell that they're not going to produce anything meaningful.
right,
Yeah.
right.
No, I know
So
that feeling.
it wasn't all that great to me.
Yeah. I need to look more into LG because I mean, they come out with a big line of soundbars every single year, so it's kind of
Mhm.
hard to like really stay up to date with what they're doing. Same thing with Samsung. Like they're both kind of doing the same thing where they're releasing like four or five models every single year,
Yeah.
of like different price ranges, which is it's awesome. There's lots to choose from, but
Mhm.
that's like that's too many dedicated reviews of like very similar systems. It's hard.
Right.
So eventually I'll get into some of those.
Yeah.
Um, the Sony S or HT-ST 5000. I've heard a lot about this. I've listened to it a few times, but I've never actually like fully reviewed it. That's like that's Sony's like flagship Dolby Atmos soundbar system,
Ah.
where I think it's 5.1.4 channels or
Mm-hmm.
7.1.4 channels, something like that. It sounds really good. I just haven't done like a thorough in-depth review on it,
Mm-hmm.
mainly because it's an older system too.
Right. It doesn't seem like Sony's all that excited about their soundbar marketing anyway,
No, I don't think
because
so.
you don't, as far as soundbars are concerned, Sony almost never comes up.
Yeah, it's very
So,
rare, and it's a great system. And I think if they really tried, Sony does really well with audio. They have their their nice headphones. They just released
mhm.
their like the XM4 in-ear headphones,
Yeah,
like the AirPod Pro style of earbuds,
right.
and they're really heavy into audio. I'm sure if they actually focused on it, they could build a fantastic soundbar system, a
Hmm.
newer one, an upgrade their older model.
Right.
Um, let's see this. This, I think you'll be able to help out a lot with this question. So he says, "Hello, Jonah. I'm a student with a budget of $1,500. That's a solid budget there. What do you recommend for a dorm room with a 55-inch TV?" Okay.
Well, I
So,
mean, the that Klipsch Cinema 1200 is about to drop, as they say.
so
So,
they did. So they've released it kind of, I don't know. They've been super like iffy with the release of that. Like
yeah, it's
they
been delayed for so long.
it's been delayed since like September of last year. At
Hmm.
this point, we're almost at September now.
Right.
They've been having some issues. So I think the release price was 1,500, and they may have bumped it up now.
Oh.
To be honest, yeah.
Hmm.
But the 800 though, the 800 is also a solid choice
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because from what I've
Yeah,
heard,
because
it's
the
like a
800 is the one that actually can also support eARC.
yes,
The
yeah,
600 and the 400 do not.
correct. Yeah, those were like the previous versions that they made a few years ago. The 800 and 1200 like the brand new like up to date versions, which they have like a promised software update coming in August at the end of August
Mm.
to like include more stuff. But we never really recommend to buy something off of promised software updates. You don't really want
Right.
that because not everyone's gonna follow through, unfortunately.
hmm But
But
for a dorm room, just
yeah,
because of the size of it, I would even say just, maybe a $1,200 Samsung would be plenty still.
yeah. I mean, if you can, trying to think of like how a dorm. I didn't go to like a traditional college, so I never had a dorm. So I'm trying to think of like how my friends' dorms were laid out. You could
Mhm.
probably, if you can get like speaker stands or something where you could do surround speakers, then honestly, like go pick up a Q950T, a Samsung Q950T. They're super cheap right now on sale. I think
Mhm.
the Q950A was on like a really good sale on Amazon as well for like 1150.
Oh, wow.
And Best Buy was doing some promotion as well where you could get like $150 gift card or something. So, I would look into that if you're able to do surround speakers. If not, I wouldn't really blow $1,500 on just a soundbar alone.
No, no way.
I would just like go pick up a Sonos Beam or something like that. That's just
Yeah,
front
true.
firing, and then when you have more room, invest in something a little nicer.
Or
Oh,
maybe even just the Sonos Arc bar
ooh, yeah,
itself.
that would be a solid choice as well. He said my couch is against the wall, so I can place speakers next to the couch. You can do that.
Yeah.
It's not ideal, but yeah, I mean that's what we do in our living room. I don't have space behind the couch, so I kind of have the speakers, as far back as I can to the side and then angled towards the seating area. I mean,
Mhm.
you just got to do what you have to do sometimes.
Right.
It's not always going to be ideal. Here's another one. Have you heard anything about the new Sony HTA9 four wireless speakers that provide Dolby Atmos? It states that the new Sony 2021 TVs can be used as a center channel. I rem-
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, let's get your opinion on this. What do you think?
I'm just gonna go straight out there and say, don't use your TV for anything audio related. if you've
No.
got a sound bar, use the sound bar. Just because the way that TVs are made, the speakers are on the bottom, so they're
Yeah.
gonna shoot the audio straight down. So
Yeah.
it's just if you have a like an entertainment center below the TV, it's going to bounce off the entertainment center and go towards you, which is just going to cause some weird phase issues and probably some
Yeah.
comb filtering.
Because I know, I was talking to my buddy, B the installer. I had him on a couple weeks ago for my first
Mhm.
live stream, but he was talking about how some of the Sony TVs have like speakers that fire from the screen, so like they're
Oh,
behind the screen and firing out.
yeah,
However, I still don't think using the TV as a center channel is going to sound good. It's
no,
eaten no matter how good they do with like, how much space they give those drivers, the TV's still like really really thin.
right.
There's not a ton of room for those speakers drivers to move. And then, even these like smaller, I'm looking at the HTA9s now. I pulled them up
Mhm.
on Digital Trends. They look like kind of like mini Sonos One looking speakers,
Oh, yeah,
about maybe a little smaller than a Sonos one. But yeah, I mean those are going to sound way better than the TV. Like
Mhm.
they have more space to move.
Yeah,
So I don't know. It sounds interesting. I'd love to see someone do a video of that. Oh,
yeah.
it's $1,800. It's
Hmm.
$1,800 for those four speakers. Here,
What?
yeah. Here, I'll share my screen. I'll try something else out here. Okay. So that's the right screen, and then pop it up there. Add to stream. There we go.
Aha.
So, the Sony HT-A9s, $1,800 for these four speakers. That's expensive. I don't know. Maybe they just look small in that picture. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. We'll
I
have
know.
to.
Where's the banana to scale?
Exactly. it's it's hard to tell. I mean, oh, okay. So they are releasing a new soundbar,
Hey.
the HTA 7000. Interesting.
Ah.
Okay, so I will definitely be looking into that now. Let me,
7.1.2. Huh.
yeah. Okay, let me add that to my notes so I don't forget about that.
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna get a lot of questions about it once it's released.
Right. Apparently, it has built-in subwoofers, so you don't have to have a wireless
Yeah,
subwoofer.
yeah. Built-in subwoofers. That's not the most factual statement in the world. It's kind of hard to have a built unless you have like a Sennheiser Ambio. Other than that, it's kind of difficult
Right.
at that point. Um, Flo asked, "Have you heard anything about Nakamichi making a new soundbar?" So I heard some rumors going around about them releasing a new soundbar. I asked them if they could confirm anything, and they said no. So maybe, maybe not. I have no idea. We'll have to all wait and see at that point.
I think
Um,
since it's Nakamichi, it's going to be like 15.7.9 or something.
it has to be. They have to
Right.
go up a few levels at
Oh
that
yeah.
point. No, I'm hoping they can make like a bigger sound bar because like
Yeah.
the surround speakers are pretty good, the subwoofers are pretty punchy. There's not like a ton of clarity to the subwoofers, but they are pretty
Mhm.
punchy for like bass heavy people.
Right.
But the sound bar in comparison, it just kind of feels weak because you have like two other surround speakers on each side, these subwoofers that are likely near the back of the room because that's where the surround speakers are at, and
Right.
then it just feels like there's not a whole lot in the very front. I'm
So
excited
with
about that.
so with the Nakamichi, it
Mhm.
is that style of system where the surrounds have to hook up to the
Correct.
subwoofers.
Yeah. So there's like included speaker
Okay.
wire. So like the two left surround speakers plug into the left subwoofer, and then the two right surround speakers connect to the right subwoofer. So you have to plug those in with that speaker wire.
Hmm. Okay. Interesting.
Um, this is a really good question. This goes back to a video I made a really long time ago about soundbar specs. Does power output really mean anything in soundbars? Not really. No.
Yeah.
Not because when you think about sound output, and I'm sure you probably know the technical specs a lot better than I do, but like a simple understanding that I have, you have amplifiers or integrated amplifiers into these sound bars, whether it be one amplifier to run all the speakers or multiple mini amplifiers to run individual speakers. But the amount of power going out to those speakers is all dependent on like the sensitivity of those speakers. So if
Yeah.
those speakers are really sensitive, they're not going to require a ton of power to produce a lot of decibels of audio.
Right.
But if they're like less sensitive, then it requires a lot of power to get them to play a little bit of audio.
Hmm.
And there's like formulas and stuff that kind of go along with that, where like every time you double the amount of power, you get an additional, was it like 3 decibels of audio or something like
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
So in soundbars, no, it's a marketing gimmick essentially. That's why I
I
think
agree.
that's why Sonos doesn't include any, they don't give you any power specs or anything like that. It's like here's the system, here's what it does.
Yeah. It really only makes more sense, or at least you really need to pay more attention to it when you have separate components having to work
Correct.
together to
Hmm.
give you the home theater experience. But if it's
Exactly.
all within one soundbar,
Yeah.
it's whatever.
Exactly. So it's a good question though, because I mean, it can be really confusing when you see
Hmm.
like all these different systems. Like, oh, this one has 770 watts of power. And it's like,
Right.
it doesn't really mean anything. You could just have a really powerful amplifier and like really crappy speakers inside of the soundbar that
Yeah.
require tons of power to actually output some decent sound.
Right.
Just about time. He asks, "Hello, I've been wanting to upgrade my old Sony soundbar and have been looking at either Bose 700, JBL 9.1, or even Sonos Arc. I love the sound of the Bose, but really want to experience Atmos." It's awesome. Do you have any? Are you familiar with any of those systems? I know you know the Arc a little bit, but
Yeah. I pretty much the arc is the only one I'm
gotcha.
somewhat familiar with.
So when you're looking at these, like the Sonos Arc is the newest soundbar that's out there. The JBL right behind that, the Bose 700 is a relatively old system at this point. It's a few years old. And when you're looking at like the progression of soundbar systems and how fast they're advancing and improving the acoustics inside of these like, enclosures, they're getting really, really good at it. So I would, you know, Bose makes good stuff, but they're getting outdated at this point. They need to make something new. So I wouldn't say go with the Bose 700. I'd go with either the JBL 9.1 or the Sonos Arc. Really just depends on kind of your room layout. The JBL 9.1 has the surround speakers actually dock in to the side of the soundbar. So then,
that's right.
yeah. So
That's
they
right.
charge on the side, and then if you want to use surround, you just disconnect them, set them behind your seating area, and then when you're done using it, just rock it. Just connect them right back into the soundbar. I love I still have it. It's actually in my garage right now. Like that was one of my favorite systems to work with. I really I enjoyed majority of that system. So I would recommend that. Sonos Arc is nice if you plan on kind of expanding further on into the Sonos ecosystem. But if not,
Yeah.
go with the JBL. It's a good choice.
Right.
Yeah, if you guys have any like traditional surround sound system questions too, he's a lot more knowledgeable in that area than I am. He's going to be able to help you a lot more than I can. I am, the soundbar guy, so he's going to help you more there. So if you have any of those questions, feel free to drop those. He said, I keep hearing people say that they have cracking or popping issues with the Nakamichi. Have you heard of these issues? What's causing them? New update. I heard the firmware update 36 is coming. So yes, I did experience this some. Now, what happens, a lot of these soundbar systems, they're using certain wireless frequencies to send the audio signals from the soundbar to the subwoofer or the surround speakers. The issue is Nakamichi originally used 5 gigahertz, which is the same frequency that most wireless routers use because they have a 2.4 gigahertz frequency and they have a 5 gigahertz frequency. So if you have like a router or a Wi-Fi access point that's close to that, then you're going to get some interference between those, and that's where you can get that cracking and popping. What they did quite a while back, though, is they introduced a new firmware update that it's called direct frequency, where essentially instead of using the 5 gigahertz frequency, they switched it, and now it's using, I asked them for the specific frequency, but they didn't really tell me. But it's just outside of the normal Wi-Fi frequencies that people are using. And it completely solved all the issues I was having originally. Because I had a ton of those issues. It was just popping and crackling. I'm like, well, this sucks. It's not fun. And then I talked to them about and they just said, upgrade the firmware, switch it to DF on as the setting, and it immediately solved all the problems.
Some secret frequency that we're not supposed to know about.
I don't. They may have sent it to me a long time ago, and I just completely forgot. There's no telling. Maybe they did tell me. I don't know. But there's so many emails. I'm sure you get this now as well. Like where, as you start making YouTube videos, you get just a ton of like emails almost every day of like different brands reaching out, and like most of them are like brands you've probably never ever heard of. And like people trying to get their product out there, but still nonetheless, there's a ton of emails coming in. So it's kind of hard to sort through things.
Right.
As you get more and more and more. Chamming says, Clip Cinema 1200 versus Samsung Q950A. As of today, which is better? Well, I can't accurately answer that question because I haven't actually listened to the Clip Cinema 1200 yet. Unfortunately, I'm still waiting for them to send out my review unit. So I'll know in the next few weeks or so, but as of right now, I can't give you an educated choice. Andrew Robinson is, I think, the only person right now that has a review out of the Cinema 1200, and it's a pretty extensive review. It's like 25 minutes long.
That and audio advice.
Okay.
They also have a review out.
I need to subscribe to them. Make sure I see that. I should be subscribed to them, but I'm not. He was saying something about the speakers behind the screen on the Sonys. So yeah, me and Brandon had talked about that a couple weeks ago. I think David agrees with it here. Still wouldn't use the TV as a center channel. I think we can all agree with that.
Right. Yeah. team no TV speakers.
Yeah, no, TV speakers are garbage. It's
Yeah.
it's physics, or actually it's acoustics,
Hmm.
and that's why it just doesn't work.
No.
Let's see. There's a lot more questions coming in now. Sonos Arc alone or Q950A? Well, Q950A. If you got what should be 300-400 bucks more for the Q950A, and then you get a full surround sound system with 11 channels of audio. I think that's a
Mm.
pretty easy choice there, unless you want to further expand into the Sonos ecosystem, because
Right.
Sonos is it's fun. They're doing a good job. They could definitely do more in this space, because they're kind of I I hear more Sonos questions than just about any other brand at this point.
Hmm.
Most people really are intrigued with what Sonos is doing. You know, what are your opinions on Sonos? Have you had like a ton of experience with like their products at all? I know you've heard of the Arc and you messed with it, but
I actually
anything else?
haven't. I actually haven't had a lot of experience with them,
Hmm.
but they're just so good at their marketing strategy that
Yes.
I know of their name and I know they are huge.
Yes.
But they're kind of like the Apple of audio,
Yeah.
because
Agreed.
yeah, you buy into their ecosystem. You're not just
Hmm.
getting one particular thing. So
And
I totally get it if you want to
mhm.
jump into that ecosystem, because then you can have your full surround sound system plus whole home audio where you can listen
Hmm.
to music throughout the whole house and be able to control it straight from your smartphone, that thing.
Hmm.
So I totally get that.
I
It's
get it too.
awesome.
It makes sense.
So yeah, it's because as far as I know, Samsung doesn't really have any kind of
No. So
whole
there
home.
there's only a few companies that are doing it. Surprisingly enough, it's a video I'm working on now. I'm kind of like outlining and in the planning phases of this. But
Mhm.
like the main companies that do this, you have Sonos, which is the most well known for like whole home audio modular soundbar systems.
Right,
Then you have Yamaha Music Cast, which is
right.
I'd probably say like second place, even though their marketing strategies is not good at all. Like when you search up Sonos on YouTube, there's a million results, and when you search up Yamaha Music Cast, there's like nothing.
Right.
And then you have Denon, which they what's the name of it? The
Oh,
Hios.
Hios. Yeah.
Yeah, Denon Hios, and then there's another one. Is it Blue Sound or
Oh,
Blue
I'm not
something?
familiar with that one.
Yeah, I can't remember. They're I think they're more of like a niche brand, or like a I don't know if the word's like a boutique brand or something like
Hmm.
that. I think a lot of their stuff's fairly expensive,
Yeah.
probably on the lines of like Sonos products.
Hmm.
But again, like as you've never heard of them before, and I'm sure a lot
Right.
of other people here have probably never heard of them. So it's kind of hard to choose on that end. These
Have
other
you had
company.
any experience with Hios?
No, I
I
haven't.
haven't.
Zero.
Yeah.
And I need to get into that a little bit, but it's hard to make that decision when there's not a lot of people asking about it. So,
It's also hard because A, you have to have a Denon or a Marantz receiver,
hmm,
but also because I looked into it just for a little bit,
yeah.
and the Hios compatible speakers that they sell are really expensive.
Yeah.
Like a
Like
few hundred
to what
dollars,
to?
like 3, 4,
Okay.
$500. It's
Okay.
just for one speaker. So cool. You can have
Yeah.
those placed around the house and you can have your whole home audio, but
It's going to
it's
cost you
also
an arm
really
and a leg.
expensive.
Yeah. Like Sonos is nice because they have the budget options there. Like
Yeah.
if you want to go really budget, they have the symphonic stuff from, I think that's how you pronounce it, Symphonics.
Hmm.
That's their partnership with IKEA, where they
Oh, right.
have a few things there. They just made a picture frame speaker with IKEA. It's pretty interesting. Like it has a cool design on it. It's like a like 2 foot picture frame by 1.5 foot, or 1 foot by 2 foot picture frame.
Oh, wow.
And apparently, Sonos built the speakers that are behind it. It connects in. You can use them as surrounds as you normally would with like a Sonos
What?
soundbar. Yeah. So
Wow.
pretty interesting stuff. I think they're trying to break into the market even more than they already are.
Hmm.
Um, Let's see. We got any other good questions here? This is a good question. What are your thoughts on Sonos Arc not even supporting DTS-X? They are so expensive, in my honest opinion. They should support it. So here's the thing with DTS audio codecs. And I'm sure you have some good opinions on this as well. I think DTS is a audio codec that's not as common. It's becoming more and more rare because most people stream everything. You're watching on Netflix, you're watching on Hulu, Disney Plus, any of the streaming platforms. I think basically every single one uses Dolby Audio, unless there's like a very specific one that uses DTS. From my knowledge, they all use Dolby. The only thing that supports or is going to output a DTS audio signal is if you have like a Blu-ray player and you're watching specific Blu-ray movies that only have DTS audio.
Right.
So I think Sonos is playing more to their market. They know most of their people are streaming everything because they're streaming their audio through their phones. They're streaming audio through Spotify. I think, it saves them money because you don't have to pay. I'm sure there's royalties or certifications that you have to pay into in order to support that codec.
Right.
That was something that the Enclave, one of the Enclave people said that's why they didn't do it. It was to keep costs down. And that's why they just support PCM. So, if you're a big Blu-ray guy and you have a big Blu-ray collection where you have lots of DTS movies, it kind of sucks. But majority of people, it really doesn't affect them.
True. Yeah, they are just kind of pandering towards their main audience. But as far as DTS-X is concerned, to be honest, I actually like it a little bit better than Dolby Atmos. But the thing is, the way in which that codec is written, it is a lot. The files, or at least just the language, takes up a lot more space than Dolby Atmos. So that's one of the main reasons that a lot of soundbars don't support it, is because it just takes up too much space. But the few movies that I do have, which are DTS-X, I actually do get a better immersive experience, especially in the height channels. The height channels seem to be more responsive. Just the other day, I do have a traditional home theater system in my living room. It's all in-wall speakers, and a couple 12-inch subwoofers. But when I was watching, I just purchased the Cornetto trilogy, Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead and World's End. I just purchased that on 4K Blu-ray now. And I was watching Hot Fuzz, and all three of those movies are in DTS-X. Okay. And as I'm watching in the third act of Hot Fuzz, where they're just going around shooting everyone and everybody's shooting back at them, there were times where it startled me how loud some of the bullets and the whizzing and the glass shattering was in the surrounds. And those particular speakers in the wall are like 5, 6, 7 feet away, and it still startled me. And I've never experienced that listening to a Dolby Atmos track yet. I honestly think it's more responsive, and I like it a little bit better. But just like any kind of technology war, how Blu-ray Blu-ray won over HD DVD when that first was, a war kind of thing going on. So it's just more popular. They did better marketing, and it's just everywhere now. But it also takes up less space when you're dealing with streaming data.
Which is why it's so big, and that's why they're kind of winning all of that right now. So no, that's interesting though. I've heard the same exact. I haven't personally heard it, but I've heard opinions of the same exact thing. Where DTS, it sounds better than Dolby Atmos, or DTS-X sounds better than Dolby Atmos, even when it's both lossless, uncompressed audio.
Yeah, it just has more oomph.
This is a great question for you because I don't know. Jacob asks, any AV receiver recommendations for a 3.1 channel system? I have a pair of bookshelf speakers, which I'm adding a sub and center channel to for home theater.
3.1 system.
I mean, you probably want to go with, even though you want a 3.1 system now, you still want to go with like, at least, do they even make just regular 5.1 channel receivers now?
Oh yeah, yeah, they're still
so
around.
they still okay.
Yeah.
Then,
yeah, the just your kind of entry level 5.1 Denon, like the S650H, or the Sony STR590, I think it is. But yeah, those really, there's not a lot of 5.1 receivers to choose from, to be honest. But yeah, those will run you about 300, 350.
yeah.
But
So I think like the philosophy there is like, even though you want a 3.1 channel system now, like you're always you want to build for the future. You want to think about it ahead of time. So even, yeah, you can probably find a cheaper 5.1 channel receiver. It may make more sense to spend a little more, get yourself a 7.1.2 channel receiver. And that way, you can grow into it in the future, or you can apply more power to the speakers that you're using, instead of just going, with a simple 5.1 and only using 3 channels of it.
Yeah, like channels. If you are the kind of person that purchases a receiver and doesn't want to upgrade it for like 10 years, then yeah, make sure whatever you end up getting, make sure it's got HDMI 2.1 and HDCP 2.3, because those are the ones that are going to be dealing with 8K content and 8K TVs once that becomes the norm, which is, still probably going to be 5-10 years off.
I think so.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Plus, I don't know if people are really going to notice much of a difference between 4K and 8K. I don't.
Yeah.
it's kind of hard to,
right.
Especially if you're like really far away or it's a really massive screen, then yeah. But I think if you're looking at like a 50 or 60-inch TV, it's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult.
Yeah, I have written, and I'm in the process of getting like just a cluster of videos to film all in one day.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a finished script for a topic talking about 8K and is it really worth it in 2021. And honestly, before I started writing the script, I was so against it. I was like, 8K is such BS. Don't give in to the hype.
Okay.
But as I was researching it, I'm like, oh, okay, now I get it, why some people might want it. And I personally will probably get an 8K TV, but not until like 2024 or something, when they go down in price.
When they're not $10,000 for
exactly.
TV, yeah.
Yeah, because it's not just about the resolution, but it's about just the newer technologies that are coming out that 4K TVs just aren't as good at doing, like upscaling. A lot of 8K TVs can do upscaling way better than any 4K TV can right now, just because the technology is newer and they have machine learning AI built into it, which 4K TVs don't.
And good processors. Those
kinds of things where it's like, you're going to want to get an 8K TV eventually because it's just a better technology.
Agreed. It's going to be a bit though, for sure.
Oh yeah.
Unless you got bukus of money to be spending on stuff.
Yes.
Got quite a few questions here. I'm trying not to go over ones that we've already answered a lot. Let's see. Oh, we can go with this one. Are rear speakers for the Samsung Q950A most powerful that you've heard on a soundbar? If you're not including the Sonos 5s, then yes, they are. Just because there's 3 speaker drivers in them, and they're pretty powerful from what I've listened to. The Sonos 5s, of course, I mean, that's a $500 individual surround speaker, so that's going to be more powerful. But
Hmm.
I think that's a completely different area and zone.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. Okay. I have a traditional 5.1 system and played a movie with regular DTS HD 5.1 and sounded way louder than an Atmos track, and that wasn't even DTSX. Yep,
Yep.
that's right. And
Yeah.
it's
It's just it's a better surround sound format.
and it's
But
unfortunate that it lost too. It's unfortunate that it's not as
yeah,
popular
right.
because it does provide better audio, and I should really do like a detailed test one day to see if you can even tell the differences on a soundbar, because there's always
Yeah,
internal processing, encoding, decoding that's going on. So it'd be really good to like do a blind test on that, see if like can someone even tell the difference if I play like the same exact movie, one with True HD, one with DTSX. If I can find movies that have both audio available, or like
right.
stream one and then do DTS from a Blu-ray or something,
Hmm.
that would be interesting to see like how much of a difference is there to the average person, and then how much is there a difference to someone that knows what they're listening for, like
Right.
knows a little bit about the industry.
Like I could do one test with my wife and the other test with me because
Yeah.
there's plenty of times where I'll be like, "Oh, did you hear that?" to my wife, and she's like, "No."
Yeah, no, Ashley, it's the same thing. It's like, oh, you hear the difference with these new surround speakers? She's like, no, you put new speakers there or what? I'm like, yeah, you didn't notice? Like, nope. Oh, okay, never mind then. I know you don't care. I get it. You, you try. Um, Someone else agreeing with us here. I have a SN11RG. That's a LG's last year flagship soundbar model.
Right.
Um, I think that's either 7.1.4, yeah, 7.1.4 channels, I believe.
Mhm.
DTS is far better than Atmos. It is surprising that the Klipsch Cinema 1200 is the same with no DTS support.
Yeah.
Agreed. I thought it
Mhm.
was very strange especially for Klipsch to not have DTS support.
Right.
It surprised me, especially knowing their audience too.
Yeah.
Like Klipsch is very much traditional surround sound speakers. That's been their game for many, many, many years now. So I completely agree with you there. Very strange that they don't have it. But
Right.
again, probably saves them some money on every single unit that they're selling. So
Yes.
likely maximizing profits on each unit sold.
Right.
And I think they're also raising their prices because shipping is so expensive now. I think that's why all their prices are going up. At least that's what I've read. I've heard a
Yeah.
little bit. That's a good question. Is it worth it to refund a Samsung Q800A and spend more to upgrade to a JBL 9.1? So the Samsung Q800A is like two steps down from the flagship. I gotta look at this one actually. I need to look
Yeah.
this up. It's hard to keep track at this point.
I know. It's just like
Um,
all the content you can watch on your streaming
yeah,
services.
there's too
Just too
much to
many to
choose.
choose from.
It's hard. So this one, it's a 3.1.2 channel soundbar with Dolby Atmos. So
Uh-huh.
it's just a single soundbar by itself, 3.1.2 channels. To spend more to upgrade to the JBL 9.1. So this one's looks like $630 right now, give or take. The JBL 9.1's about $1,000. I don't know.
Refund as in you just recently purchased the
That
Samsung?
I think so. I think that's what they're saying.
Yeah.
No, I would go with the JBL 9.1 if you can. It's a really good system. Like it's solid, especially for the price. I think it's very fair because on a lot of soundbar systems you can definitely overspend. Like Sonos is
Mhm.
like not worth it for the audio quality you get, but the features and the upgradability is kind of what you're buying into.
Yeah.
But I think JBL is probably one of the most like that soundbar is worth every dollar that you pay for it.
Right.
I think someone agrees with me here. for everyone asking for the JBL Bar 9.1. It's a beast. Go for it. Atmos is impressive. Don't forget the latest batch from JBL is presenting some problems with the rear speakers not supported.
Oh no.
Is presenting some problems. Okay, I was trying to reread that. So apparently some of the newer models or the recently manufactured units are having some problems with rear speakers. It's interesting. Well, hopefully they can get that fixed. Firmware updates or better have good support and make sure people are getting their warranties covered. Let's see. I have the JBL Bar 9.1, but I think I'll be upgrading to the HTA1. They also have another one new called the A7000. Yes.
Oh, yeah, Sony, yeah.
I literally, when we're done with this, I need to read up on this to see when it's coming out and all of that, because I've been waiting on Sony to announce something about a new soundbar system, and that's exactly what I've been waiting for. So we'll have to look into that.
It's here.
It's finally took them what three years, I think 4 years.
Jeez.
The HT 5000's been out forever. Let's see. I think Dolby must have paid Clips to not include DTS. Possible.
Probably.
Possible. So how, I see a question here about TVs. Are you into the TV industry at all, or like you have
kind of. I'm slowly trying to get into that. I mean, no manufacturer has sent me a TV for review yet, but yeah, obviously I want to get into that realm at some point. So I know a little bit about TVs.
Yeah, I'm just like, because I've been talking to Be the Installer. I've been on a few of their live streams, and because they're all like TV nerds at this point. Like they've reviewed every TV. They've gone like deep into the settings, get them calibrated, so they know everything there's to know about TVs at this point.
Wow.
I finally bought 2 new TVs. We were originally using these like, it was a $300 50-inch Vizio 4K. Dude, the worst TVs. They're so bad. They didn't look good. So I finally upgraded. I ended up getting a Hisense U8G 65-inch TV for downstairs, and then in my studio room across the hall there, I got a LG C10 65 inch as well. So it's like the first time in my life I've had like 2 nice TVs, and actually the first OLED TV actually, the LG CX.
Yeah, I've got a LG C9 OLED.
Okay.
And as soon as I went OLED, I don't think I'm ever going to go back.
Yeah, especially if you don't have a ton of like ambient light in the room, then you should be good. Or if you can at least control the lighting. The reason I didn't go OLED downstairs, because I love the way the TV looks. Like the LG C10 looks amazing. Yeah. But we have like 8 windows downstairs, and we keep the blinds open most of the time just to let natural light in. So it's like, if I get an OLED, I'm probably gonna have some like brightness issues, and I don't want to have to deal with that. And they kind of all agreed with me at that point. So I don't think we answered your question there, but at least,
sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Did you talk about that in your live stream with Be the Installer?
I don't think I mentioned the Hisense. I may have mentioned it, but I didn't have it at that point. I literally got it, I think, like a week ago.
Oh, nice.
At this point, and so we've been using that and messing with it. But I like it so far. We had a small ARC issue between the Sonos ARC and the Hisense TV, and I thought it was an ARC issue at first because like no sound was coming out of the Sonos ARC, and I'd turned off the TV, turned off the sound bar, unplugged the HDMI cables, plugged everything back in, and nothing was working. So I just said, okay, screw it. I'll just play from the TV speakers. So that Ashley, she was watching her show. She's trying to get me to fix it. So I just like, I'll just turn on the TV speakers and get this to work. And then it wouldn't play out of the TV speakers either. I'm like, okay, this is weird. So I factory reset the thing, and then it started working immediately. I'm like, all right.
Oh man,
that was weird. I hope I don't have to do this more. It's a great looking TV, but I don't want to have to deal with issues like that. Ashley's probably not happy about it either.
Well, it's actually, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Speaking of that topic, because at this point I'm thinking it might just be my LG C9 that
Hmm.
is the issue. But I've reviewed an LG soundbar. I reviewed a Vizio soundbar. I actually am in the process of reviewing a Polk audio soundbar,
Oh,
but
okay.
I've also reviewed, or at least am in the process of reviewing Klipsch, the fives, which
Okay.
also hooks into your TV via HDMI, and then the Milan and Monaco, the Wyza surround sounds, those
Okay.
also hook into your TV. Out of all those, I have never had a perfect connection experience. I've always had ARC issues. I've always had audio just all of a sudden when I turn on my TV, just not coming out.
Hmm.
Um, so, in your experience with so many sound bars,
Hmm.
I get the convenience and the ease of setup with sound bars, but is there always just this inherent possibility of
Yeah,
connection issues?
that's a good question. Unfortunately, yeah. Yeah, there is. Because it's like you have all these different manufacturers. You got, if you have an LG TV or a Vizio TV, a Hisense, a Sony, an LG, like you have all these different manufacturers trying to coordinate on a specific protocol to make sure everything works together. And even with like eARC coming out, it's still not a perfect system. Like I had a ton of issues with the Vizio TV that we had, but I kind of fully expected that with it being such a cheap TV.
Yeah.
Um, I haven't experienced any ARC like connectivity issues with the LG CX or the C10. Like
Hmm.
it's been perfect on the many soundbars that I've tested on it. Never had any issues. And then I told you about the Hisense issues. I literally had issues within a few days. But again, that could have been a TV problem because I had to do a full reset.
Yeah.
But no, it's unfortunate. I hope it gets better over time and eventually they can like really solidify the ARC connection when it comes to TVs and soundbars.
Hmm.
But a lot of the times, like if the soundbar has HDMI inputs, I'm typically using those. And I'm just putting like
Yeah.
the NVIDIA Shield directly into the soundbar and using it that way instead.
Hmm. How long do you typically review something before you move on to the next?
So sometimes I'll be reviewing a couple things at the same time,
Hmm.
but typically I give it about bare minimum a full week of
Yeah.
testing,
Yeah.
like daily use, like some specific testing, casual use, like me and Ashley just watching Netflix or something. And then there's like dedicated. All right, I'm gonna watch these specific scenes on these movies and see what I can hear going on. See if there's anything specific that I notice, if there's anything like that. But bare minimum a week, sometimes 2 weeks, depending
Hmm.
on if I'm comparing something or if I've been busy with other projects or something like that. What about you? How long are you typically looking at something?
Yeah, it's usually about a week. And usually, if I have connection issues, those
Hmm.
happen within a day or two.
Okay,
So yeah, it's now I'm starting to really think that it's a TV issue and not
it's
necessarily the
possible.
sound bars, just because I've always had issues with
Yeah,
ARC.
but it's
So
also it's a C9. So what? That was the 2019 model.
yeah, the
Yeah.
2019 version.
So yeah, they make that so easy. C9, C10.
Yeah.
That's really simple.
Right.
Um, yeah, it could just be the ARC connection there. Maybe factory reset your TV if you haven't done any calibration on it. Maybe see if that solves some of those issues.
Yeah.
Um, but no, I get comments about that pretty frequently where it's like people having all sorts of ARC issues and sometimes it's the TV, sometimes it's a sound bar, sometimes it's the cable that people are using too. That's
Yeah.
always something.
True. Yep.
Like that's the first thing I do if I'm having issues. Like, all right, I'm just gonna switch out the HDMI cable real quick, and
Hmm.
most of the time that solves it.
Right. because that's been my big issue since I've reviewed both traditional systems and soundbars, is that because it's a newer technology, because you're dealing with sometimes wireless things,
Yeah.
that it's just more prone to disconnect or to have connection issues.
Which makes sense.
Whereas when I know that hooking up a traditional home theater with a receiver, speaker wire, and passive speakers, the setup takes much, much longer, of course.
Oh yeah.
But once it's hooked up, it works.
It's done. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're rarely going to have issues with it.
Yeah. To just know that I'm not going to have to troubleshoot something, is worth it to me to have a traditional.
I agree. I think they've gotten a lot better with the wireless connections. I'll give them credit there, because I know back in the day it wasn't great. Like there was lots of subwoofers that would pop and crackle because of like bad wireless connections. In the last like 6 or 7 soundbars that I've looked at, I haven't had wireless connection issues with any of them. They've all been
nice.
like rock solid, no issues whatsoever. The only one that I had some issues with was the Nakamichi, but like I said, once I changed that to direct frequency, issues disappeared, problem solved.
Right.
I want to highlight this question. It may not have been a question, more so like a comment, but since 2021, the LG soundbars seem to be delayed in the United States. The 2020 bar, which is the SN11RG, has been updated twice with its firmware. I think he's asking if I've retested it to see if any improvements. So no, I haven't retested the LG since they've done a couple firmware updates on it. I think last time I looked at the LG was back in December of last year. And then kind of once I did that video, I wasn't happy with that soundbar. That was like one system I was very specifically not happy with the performance, especially compared to what it cost.
Right.
So I sold that soundbar a couple months after I did that video. So I can't really test it now again. But LG's being weird. Yeah, they're delaying all of their soundbars in the United States.
Just the United States?
Yeah, they're released in, I don't know which countries. I know they're released in some other countries, but in the United States, like, they're just not available as of right now anyways. Maybe that'll change in the future. I don't know if they're having distribution issues or they're testing the market more or something like that.
Yeah.
This is an easy question. Samsung Q950T or LG SN11RG. From my personal experience to date, I would go with the Q950A over the SN11RG, unless you can get the 11RG for like a steal of a price.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we can both kind of go into this a little bit. Are there any customizable or upgradable sound systems other than Sonos and Bose? I'd like to start with a soundbar and surrounds, then add a subwoofer later. So yes, we kind of went into this a little bit earlier. I'm not sure if you were here for that, Jay. But so the main ones, we have Sonos, we have Bose. Denon is like slightly in the game. Like they're kind of getting there. I think they have a couple sound bars at this point that support Hios. Yamaha MusicCast, they have a lot of different sound bars now and a lot of surround speakers. And then I think the last one was, I don't remember the name of them. I think a Blue Sound or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm sure if you look up a couple comparison videos to like Sonos versus MusicCast, it'll pop up somewhere there. Those are the main ones though. When it comes to like sound bars, as far as WiSA systems, because those are still like wireless and upgradable systems. There's a few options out there. Do you know any specifically?
Well, I mean, there is the Platin Monaco and Platin Milan 5.1 systems, which you can then purchase 2 additional surround speakers to make a 5.1.2 system. Because right now, WiSA can only support up to 8 channels of wireless audio. So 5.1.2, that's 8 channels right there. So that's the max you can do. But it was March of 2020 that they announced WiSA was going to support Dolby Atmos up to 6 height channels.
Okay.
And something ridiculous like that.
Yeah.
But that still isn't the case. You can still only do up to 8 channels for now. So I imagine that's probably going to happen at some point.
Technology should improve in the future.
Yeah. So if you're wanting to be in the WiSA ecosystem, you could start with the Platin Monaco or the Platin Milan 5.1 systems, maybe get those additional 2 surround speakers to make an Atmos system. But those are the ones where you just automatically have a full 5.1 or 7.1 system just right out of the box. But you could also get WiSA certified speakers, Bowers and Wilkins, Klipsch. There's lots of speaker companies.
That's another one. That was another one. Bowers and Wilkins. Or no, it was B&O. That's the name of it.
Bang and Olufsen.
Bang and Oluf. Yeah. I couldn't. I don't know how to pronounce it still yet. But that's another one of them. Although their stuff's like really, really expensive. Like that's on the higher end of audio there.
Right. Bang and Olufsen is expensive. Very expensive.
But it's supposed to sound really good. I haven't listened to it myself, but I've Andrew Robinson. He's done a few videos on some of their products. I got a comment here as well. It's I've seen this one recommended a few times. It's a Creative SXFI carrier. So I think they have a similar solution. Let me check real quick. But I remember looking into this just to kind of see what they had.
Yeah.
I don't remember if it was a soundbar or exactly what it was, or if it was a modular system.
Oh, yeah. That's actually starting to ring a bell. I think they messaged me at some point.
I may have.
But I forgot to get back to them.
Like I said, too many messages coming in. It's hard to keep track of. So they may be one of them. I'm not super familiar with it, so I don't want to spend too much time researching it. But it's something I probably need to look into. Yeah. Arkway Tech, he says, I did a review on the SP11RA. It's available in New Zealand. Okay. I'll have to check that out then. Yeah, you got lucky. You're one of the few that were actually able to get it. All right.
Sure, they give it to the Kiwis first.
Well, I mean, we usually get most stuff first, so I can't be too upset, right?
Yeah.
We're pretty fortunate there.
It's probably because they don't have many COVID cases there, so.
That's very true. That's very true. Let's see. Okay, yeah, he said something else. The new LG soundbar isn't much better than last year, so you guys in the USA aren't missing out much. Fair enough. Yeah, that's like I said, I wasn't impressed with the SN11RG, which was last year's model. So I was hoping that there'd be like some massive changes, but from even looking at the pictures and kind of the specs and all, there's not a whole lot that's different. This is a good question. So the most recent video I just posted, I did like a house tour with my dad. So he does like audio video installs for a living still. And that's like his business. So we went into one of his customers' homes where they have a full Yamaha music cast system.
Oh yeah, I just watched that video earlier today.
So this is a good question to answer. Which Yamaha soundbar do I recommend? I really like the YAS 408. That was a solid soundbar for the price. And then the YSP 2700, also a really solid soundbar. Now, what I've tried to figure out more and more, like I said, there's not a ton of information on MusicCast and how those which soundbars you can connect the surround speakers to and what you can add subwoofers to and stuff like that. So I know the YSP 2700 you can, but I'm not sure on the YAS 408. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, I haven't actually experienced much of Yamaha soundbars, but if I'm browsing the speakers section at Costco,
Hmm.
whenever I'm walking past the Yamaha, I'm always
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
that sounds really good.
there's some
Just
Yamaha
in
stuff.
passing.
And Yamaha's like it's actually not it's not overpriced like a lot of other
Yeah.
stuff is. Like it's very fairly priced. At least a lot of their stuff is compared to others where they're like fully overcharging for everything.
Hmm.
I was trying to see it. There's a lot of comments. We were off on a couple tangents earlier, so I'm trying to go through the different comments here. I did want to highlight my dad actually commented earlier. Thank you for watching, Dad. Appreciate that.
I did.
Um, so so he said, I've noticed some issues with ARC and now eARC over the years. I think it has to do with the manufacturers and all of these chipsets. Only LG and Samsung make their chipsets in-house, I believe.
Mm.
That likely leads to a lot of those issues, though. No, we've ARC and eARC. It's not a perfect technology, but it's getting there.
Yeah.
One day maybe we'll see. Um, ooh, someone said the Q950A kept disconnecting. Okay. So I'm not sure if you mean like disconnecting from the TV, like the ARC or eARC connection, or if you're talking about like the surround speakers. Um, yeah, I'm not sure there. If you want to elaborate on that, that'd be
Yeah,
awesome.
maybe he just didn't get any audio coming out or something.
That's possible as well.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, I saw this. We missed this earlier. Can you calibrate a sound bar? Um, well, you can probably answer this one well.
I mean, yeah, most soundbars come with some sort of very simple EQ,
Yeah.
presets or
Calibration.
yeah, like where, obviously you can change the levels, the volume,
Hmm.
depending on, maybe, oh, this speaker is a little bit further away than this one. So I gotta kind of mess with those levels to make sure it's balanced in the center.
Hmm.
But other than that, I mean, yeah, there's not a lot of EQing you can do to actually calibrate it.
Yeah.
Um,
Just
I mean,
you're kind of stuck with what you get.
other than like, Sonos having
Hmm.
their room calibration or, like smart software where it just
Hmm.
kind of pings all these little, frequencies and it bounces back and then it,
Yeah.
calibrates it that way. But yeah, not a lot of manual
Hmm.
calibration that you can do.
No.
Um,
I can't think of any where you can like really like dial it in.
yeah,
Like most of them, it's like you have like a 0 to 10 slider or like a -5 to 5 slider, and you can kind of adjust the EQ levels a little bit.
yeah,
And some allow you to like adjust the distance from the TV to the sound or from the seating area to the sound bar and then to the rear
yes.
speakers. But that's pretty rare at this point.
That's
Um,
actually what you can do with the Platin Monaco and Milan
okay.
WISA systems.
You can do that with the
Um,
Enclave as well.
yes, correct. So yeah, you can change the distance between you and the TV and the speakers, and yeah, usually you can change at least highs and mids and low frequencies. So that's really
That's all you got.
as complicated as it's going to get. So yeah, to some degree you can, but it is pretty rare with soundbars.
Agreed. He said, "Well, I'm really hyped for the $500 Ultimate Soundbar review video. Thank you very much." So yeah, I've been hyping this video up for a long time. Doing a big video, probably looking at like 6 or 7 soundbars right at $500 or under $500, and
Wow.
doing like a big comparison video, looking at all the features available. And I think this time I'm gonna try and rank them from like my favorite to my least favorite,
Yeah.
because last time I kind of just gave like some general opinions on what I thought about each, rather than like ranking them like here's which one I like the most all around.
Yeah.
Because then it forces me to be a little more decisive on which I'm choosing, but I think it'll help people decide in the end. at least figure things out. Because
Right.
then when you're like kind of just giving out the features and kind of describing the sound quality of all these, it kind of blends together a little bit at one point, and like
Right.
you'll figure out like which features you hate and which features you really like, but then the sound quality, it's kind of like mixed feelings and yada yada yada. It gets difficult at that point.
Yeah.
Um,
When do you think that's going to come out?
so that one, I don't know if I'm going to do that one right before Black Friday or if I'm going to do that in a couple months from now.
Hmm.
Which Black Friday is like literally coming up in like 4 months. And
I
then,
know, right?
yeah, I gotta get on that.
It's going to be here before we know it.
Yeah, it's coming up fast. And then I was wanting to do a video on soundbars under $200 as well. So like do like a full on like budget soundbar comparison. That one probably won't be as in depth as the $500 one because
Yeah.
you're only spending $200 on a soundbar, so you can't expect to get a whole lot. But I'm sure there's
Right.
going to be a few that surprise me. So I'm not sure the exact schedule there. I gotta think about it a little more. So this is a follow up on the Q950A where he said it was having disconnecting issues. So
yeah.
he's saying the surrounds and the sub kept disconnecting. Interesting. Yeah, so I haven't heard a lot of that. So maybe you just had a defective soundbar or some weird interference issues or something going on. I'm not sure. Not sure if you repurchased it or if you just kind of returned it and said I'll get something else. No.
Hmm.
Let's see what else. Shout out to Austin. That's one of my previous coworkers. I worked with him before I quit and started doing YouTube full time.
Yeah.
So, hey Austin, thanks for watching, man. Appreciate it. Yamaha YES 209, great budget soundbar, like, or budget depending on your definition. I think it's like $350. Comes with the wireless subwoofer, solid. I think it's very fair for the price.
I think
Very,
that's the one that I heard at Costco.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
it's surprising how good it sounds for like it's pretty compact as well. It's not a massive looking soundbar, so it's definitely one to check out eventually. I don't have an answer to this one. Do you? There are any converters out there to downmix eARC stereo yet? I'm not sure.
Downmix eARC.
I'm not sure why you'd want to downmix eARC.
Yeah.
Or maybe if you mean like, I'm not sure if you mean extracting eARC. Possibly. I'm not sure. Yeah, if you want to elaborate on that, we can try and help you out, Jay. Oh, that's a fun question. If you have a budget of $4,000 for home theater, audio, and video, which systems and TV do you recommend? That's a big question.
Whoa.
That's a 15-minute YouTube video right there.
And video?
It's a 20-minute YouTube video.
Well, I mean, I'm partial to LG OLEDs, so
I like
that's
LG
probably,
OLEDs as well. I'll second that.
yeah.
So get you a CX or if there's any CXs that are still available, get you one of those. It'll be a little bit cheaper than the brand new. I think it's the C1.
Yeah,
Is
C1.
the new one. And then home theater audio. Yeah. There's a lot of options there. Go watch some of my high-end soundbar videos and go watch some of Ealan's videos. I'm sure you'll find something that catches your eye there.
Yeah, because what, the CX is like a couple grand right now?
I think it's like 1,800 maybe, or
Yeah,
depending
okay.
depending on the size you get. Like if you go with the 65-inch, I think it's like $1,800. Maybe
Okay.
maybe a little cheaper now. I'm not sure.
Because if you go with an LG CX OLED and you watch my $1,500 Dolby Atmos system video, then that's under $4,000.
There you
So,
go. So
if you want a
watch.
traditional home theater, not
Yeah.
sound.
If you want a soundbar system, I got plenty of soundbar systems that are right in that price range for you, about the $1,500 area.
Right.
Or Sonos, which is almost $1,900 if you want to go for something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So my dad's saying the YSP, that's the Yamaha YSP 2700, comes with a mic and stand. Okay. To do some calibration. Interesting.
Aha,
I did
nice.
not know that. That's, I think, the first like soundbar that has a separate mic that I've heard of.
Normally that's a receiver thing.
Yeah, that's typically a receiver thing. So very interesting.
Hmm.
I'll have to maybe one day I'll look into that.
Is that their flagship? That's not even their flagship.
No. Well, see, it's interesting. I don't think they've released like a new flagship, like top
Hmm.
of the line, because they have the, I don't know if it's the Yamaha YSP 5600 or YSK 5600,
Uh,
which is like their like Dolby Atmos soundbar, but they released it a long time ago,
mhm.
and it's been a bit for that one. Um, that's also why I haven't really looked into it because it's so old.
Yeah.
It's harder to do stuff like that, or
But yeah,
look at.
I agree. That's the only one that I know of that actually comes with a
Yeah,
microphone and its own stand. That's
yeah.
cool.
Most of us just done with like built-in microphones on the soundbar, or done with your phone, like what Sonos does.
Right.
Let's see what else we got here. Man, lots of questions. Well, I'm glad some of you guys are answering each other's questions. Thank you for that. That makes it a little easier for sure. Um, let's see. Okay. I've heard Sonos Arc has issues with speakers staying connected, plus heard the experience using Android instead of iPhone can be frustrating. Thinking of getting the Q950A instead. So the Sonos ecosystem, it piggybacks off of your current wireless network. So unless if you connect the Sonos Arc or I think it's one of the other speakers with an Ethernet cable, then you can use like a dedicated Sonos network where all of your Sonos devices have their own like secret Wi-Fi network they're using to communicate with each other, while
Hmm.
all of your devices are on your typical Wi-Fi network. If you don't wire anything in, then they're all using your current Wi-Fi network. So if you have a slow router, or you only have a single access point providing Wi-Fi to all of your devices at the same time, you can run into some interference and some slowdowns, and that could cause some of those issues there. And the whole Android situation. So, I'm not sure if you're aware, on Sonos, the only way you can do the TruePlay tuning is if you use an iPhone.
I
TruePlay
was not
tuning
aware.
not available on Android. So like they
Oh
have a
man.
Sonos app, but TruePlay tuning's not available there. And
Right.
then of course with Apple you also have AirPlay. So you can like
Yeah.
wirelessly stream from your phone or MacBook or anything like that.
Right.
Arcway Tech saying get a mesh network if you don't already. Fully agreed on that.
Yeah.
Fully agreed. And I think we have a Netgear Nighthawk actually. I think that's what it's called.
Hmm.
One of the like high end routers, and then that seems to run fine. It also like it so many factors when it comes to Wi-Fi networks, so it's kind of hard to consider everything there. It's room size and how many walls are between your devices and the Wi-Fi router. That's why mesh networks are just like a great decision.
Hmm.
Uh,
Agreed.
let's see. There's a lot of questions here. I got my, I don't think you can hear him, but I got all three cats at the door right there, just meowing away. So like I just hear this in the back of my ear, constant meowing.
What are you doing in there?
Let me out, feed me food. But yeah, I'm not seeing any like blatant other questions here. I think well, we've been going for an hour and a half at this point, so it's
Oh,
been,
dang.
yeah, it's flown by. Um, but yeah, is that you got? I think we may just end it here or wrap up here. You got any final remarks or anything you want to say?
Uh, I don't think so. I mean, yeah, because the questions that I did have for you, some of the stuff talked about, brought up those questions. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Awesome. Well,
I think that's it.
thank you everyone for watching. If you aren't subscribed to Ealan's channel, please go subscribe to him. It was a great time having him on. His editing style is amazing. And that's something I want to talk about or talk to you about that like when we're done here and chat about it, because your editing style's incredible. I know you put some time into those edits. So
Yeah.
he has some really good videos. The information's fantastic and he's fun on camera. So go subscribe and watch some of his videos. He does a good job. And if you could like the video before you sign off of this live stream, that would help it out a lot so that other people can find it later on.
Yeah. Where is it?
Yeah, somewhere down there, over there. But thank you guys. We appreciate you watching. It was a good time.
Thanks for having me.
Bye, everyone.